Welcome to growthtofreedom.com, the show that brings you inspiration, transformation, and leadership. We're helping you connect the dots, see the blind spots, and get unstuck so you can go out and generate more leads, more sales, more profits. More importantly, so you can go out and have a bigger reach, a bigger impact, and make a bigger contribution. Welcome to growthtofreedom.com, the show that's bringing you transformation, inspiration, and leadership. We've got an exciting segment of our show today. Let me ask you a question. What if we could show you a way to package and present yourself and or your offer to generate more leads, more sales, more profits? Would that be something that would be of interest to you? Well, that's what today's segment is all about. Now, first of all, thanks for making us part of your day. If you want to join us in on the conversation, make sure to follow us on Twitter at Dan_Kuschell. That's Kuschell, Dan_Kuschell, or email us at info@growthtofreedom.com. Now, if you want to get a chance to go deep with this episode and this segment of the show, you're going to want to go to growthtofreedom.com/55. That's growthtofreedom.com/55. And if you missed our last segment, which was growthtofreedom.com/54, there were a couple questions that popped up. Matt actually had a question after that segment, and he asked me, he says, Dan, what if someone isn't a good leader? If you don't remember, that segment was all about lead and grow rich. I would encourage you to go check it out. I think it's going to give you a new way to think about leadership. And one of the questions Matt said is, what if someone doesn't really have leadership qualities? And so it made me think of two things. First of all, one of the best paths for leaders to take in many cases, right, Matt, is to be able to follow others who are leaders, right? And so it's like an apprenticeship in many ways, number one. Number two, it's the ability to realize that your definition of leadership and my definition of leadership are completely different, and that's okay. My definition of being a leader or being my CEO today is different than, say, it was 5 years ago. So we're constantly evolving. So if you are sitting there questioning, well, I'm not sure if I'm a good leader. Guess what? Get over it. You are. Come up with your value system, your definition of what that is. Again, you can get all the criteria of that at growthtofreedom.com/54. Today, we want to talk about packaging and positioning your offer for greater lead sales and profitability, right? And I know that's a big promise, and you might be saying, well, I've tried everything before and that doesn't work, right? I want to give you some simple ways to be able to think about it, some practical tools to actually be able to use, but you're going to need to get out a pen and paper on this and be able to write some things down because, Dan Sullivan, talks about the problem is not the problem, it's how you think about the problem. The problem, most of us don't think. We're too busy, caught up in life and day-to-day overwhelm and day-to-day, and I'm there too at times, folks. Don't mix the message here and the messenger and me going, oh, I'm better than you. Heck no. That's not the case at all. I battle this all the time, and so this is just a great practical way for you to go through it. So first of all, it starts with some questions, right? So number one, I'm going to give you a framework of, answering some questions about your industry, your niche, your clientele. And then I'm going to give you a way to think about presenting that offer probably in a much simpler way. Now, I didn't invent any of this. First of all, this discovery I've made, so to speak, isn't my own discovery. I've been taught, I've been being mentored in marketing and sales, persuasion, influence, and presentation techniques since I was 17. Right? So this has evolved over time. Some of the most recent people I've learned from, people like Dan Sullivan, people like Joe Polish and Genius Network, people like Frank Kern, Brendan Burchard. I mean, I could go on, and Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, all these incredible people who articulate. I learned something watching the presidential election debates, right? And how they present and how they do well, how they don't, right? How they package and position themselves. So number one, as you get started in packaging and presenting yourself, it starts with the question, number one, of what is it you offer, right? Because what it is you offer isn't the thing that people are buying. You think it is, but it isn't. The thing they're buying is whatever it is you offer gives them. So Matt, who's our video producer, people aren't buying video, they're buying what video gives them. And then it goes deeper. So for example, this is a way that I would probably look at packaging my offer in video production. I would say, well, what I do is video packaging to help make your message more compelling so that you have a greater impact, greater contribution, and ultimately can help you generate more leads, more sales, and profitability. As a true credible authority, if not an icon in your industry. Think about the way that comes across, right? That's a little different than going, I do video, right? Now, Matt doesn't do that, by the way. I'm just giving you a friend. I don't want to, Matt and I didn't even talk about it. I'm just using him as the example here for this segment. But it starts with whatever your X is, does Y. That's going to be the benefit. So that start off with your X, gives the Y. What's the benefit? But then what is it going to do for them as far as an emotional feeling overall? Certainty, uncertainty. I talk a lot about this in previous episodes and so on. So we'll be right back on growthtofreedom.com with more on how to package and position yourself for growth. Welcome back. We're talking about how to package and present your offer for greater lead sales and profits. And let's dive right into it because we talked about the idea of what you do is X. It provides Y, right? That you want to come up with the benefit of what that is, and gives the Z, which is going to be more of the emotional benefit that people will get from what you're doing. I used Matt as an example for a video. So then it goes deeper, right? So now you want to sit down and really get inside the mind of your clients. This is called market research, right? And I think this will be fun, by the way. Joe Polish from Genius Network likes to call this ELF versus half. ELF meaning easy, lucrative, and fun versus half, hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating. So you can have a hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating and not do this exercise. Or you can take the time to get inside your clients or your ideal clients' minds and come up with an ELF model. I mean, what do you prefer? If you want an ELF, if you don't want an ELF business, then blow this off. But if you do want an ELF business, I challenge you to go through this simple, fun exercise to be able to look at. So number one, after you identify what it is you really offer, then identify the top, call it problems, situations, threats, and dangers that your clients face, right? What are the top problems? And what I recommend is simply get a piece of paper out, right? And I encourage you to do this today while it's fresh on your mind. Get a piece of paper out, and you're going to draw a line down the middle of that paper, and on the left side, you're going to write problems, situations, dangers, threats, right? And then you're going to just list out all the ones for your potential clients, right, that they've got. And then on the other side, you're going to write solutions. And right, for every problem that you come up with, essentially you're going to come up with the counterpart, the opposite solution, right? So, a common thing that, pops up, like, I don't have enough leads, right? That's a common one in business. So, the solution for that might be create an automated model to generate leads. It might be create a podcast that actually allows you to generate leads. Create a call to action in your video production that gives you the ability to create leads. It might be running how to do paid traffic. There's a lot of, misconceptions or misunderstandings about that. But whatever your industry, what are the top problems, dangers, threats that people have? Like in our model, sometimes people that show up for webinars is an issue. So like, what are some methodologies that you could use? What's the counteractive solution to that problem that comes up? So Matt, as you're looking at your business, what are the biggest problems your clients face in doing video production, right? There are things like they don't see how it really creates an ROI. So if you anticipate, in other words, anticipate the objection, the obstacle, the problem that your clients, and then what is your solution? See, if you just articulate your solution, many times you're already ahead of your competition because most of your competition hasn't taken the time to actually think through simple things like this. So number two is for each of these overall, really get clear on what it is that you're packaging, what you do that's in a unique way that will be the solution. Then next, here's a big one. Identify the top desires, top 3 to 5 desires that your clients have overall, right? So in most cases, depending on the business or depending on the industry, depending on the niche, common things like more sales is what they're going for. They want more profitability. They want more simplicity, right? They want more leads. They want more referrals. I mean, think of at the end of the day how it moves the dial for that company, for that individual within the company, right? And the layers of that. And you brainstorm several ideas to come up with your best 3 to 5. Then here's a even deeper one. I think I learned this from Tony Robbins. Matt, I think you and I have talked about this. I attended my first Tony Robbins event at Cobo Hall in Detroit, Michigan, back in like the 80s, late 80s, right? So I was, in my late teens, early 20s, and Tony said this, and it's something that's just stuck with me, and I might have his exact words, out of context just a little bit, but it's the same idea. What are the biggest reasons why, right, they want the solution, right? Why do they want the solution? In other words, the emotional reason. I've talked about this a lot in different shows, right? Even in our Lead and Grow Rich episode at growthtofreedom.com/54, you can get it at context. But quickly, Tony talks about 6 human needs, right? Tony Robbins. Certainty, uncertainty, significance, love, growth, and contribution. Those 6. So figure out, what is it? Why do they want X, whatever your X is, to fill that why for them? What is the why for them, right? And come up with your main 3 to 5 for your business, right? And if you take the time to really do that, what will end up happening is you'll start communicating better about, I do X that does Y to do Z. Like the big one that I talk about a lot is making a bigger impact, making a bigger contribution, because the type of entrepreneurs that I work with, that's what their big thing that they're going for. So I constantly am repeating. Those are a couple. So in your business, you think of that, whatever industry you're in. Next is, here's another kicker, and I believe I learned this from Tony Robbins as well, is brainstorm all the reasons why people don't buy from you, right? Anticipate. Because obviously, if you've been in business for longer than a day, you're going to have people who say no to your offer. What are the reasons they're saying no, right? Some of it could be money. Some of it could be lack of knowledge. Some of it's lack of confidence. Some of it, think of all the logical reasons and then all the emotional reasons they say no, right? If you're thinking in terms of Tony's 6 hierarchy of needs, certainty, well, there's uncertainty around your offer, which is why they're saying no. What is that uncertainty? Right? Or maybe it's not giving them enough significance, right? Or purpose. Maybe they feel it's transactional, not transformational. In other words, it's not from a true place. They don't see it yet from being a place of contribution. So it can just be repackaging or packaging what you do in a better way. So out of all those things you brainstorm, come up again with the main 3 to 5 that you'll focus on. So that's a starting point of packaging your offer in a better way. Now, I know I went through that quick. You're going to probably want to listen to it again. You can go to growthtofreedom.com/55, get a couple sheets of paper out and do these exercises. It's again, do you want an elf business or do you want a half business? If you want a half business, don't take this seriously, blow over it, just think about it in your head. If you want to have an elf business, sit down, pull out 2-3 sheets of paper, take a couple minutes. This will take you no longer than 15 minutes to go through. And I can assure you it's well worth the time, because guess what? I had a mentor years ago. He said, Dan, it's easier to get wealthy in this country than it is to make a living. I was like, what are you talking? If it was that easy, why everybody'd be wealthy? He goes, that you don't understand. He goes, it's easier to get wealthy in this country than it is to make a living, because you've got no frickin' competition. And that's so true, right? There's a certain percentage of people who are going to do a little bit of this action plan that I've shared today, but the majority will not. And there's an old saying in the Bible, by your fruits you shall know them. Which person are you? Are you a person who takes action with what you've been given? Takes advantage of opportunities that come your way, that truly you go, yeah, I want an elf business, but are your behaviors and actions supporting that desire? It's that simple, right? Now, let's say you are the type of person, because that's why you're listening. If you're listening to the show, chances are you are someone who's an action taker, right? So what do we do next? Well, now we go and how do we present our offer, overall? Now, this could be in person. It could be one-on-one. Start thinking through, like if you were going to do a presentation to somebody, we call them in Genius Network 10-minute talks, right? We get some of the top thought leaders in the world. They do these 10-minute talks. And this is a framework that again, I don't want to say I discovered it, but you're just reframing and simplifying a lot of the different techniques and strategies that are out there. So, craft it in this type of a framework. Number one, when you make your presentation, you make a big promise, right? What is your big promise that you do, right? Because people don't want video, for example, in Matt's case. They want what video does for them or what it gives them, right? Ideally, how to use video to generate more, 52% more profits, if that's the case. But you've got to come up with a big promise that you can meet, by the way. Don't make over promises. You don't want to hype stuff up, right? So number one, you make a big promise. Number two, you lead into the conversation. And you see us do this on the show a lot. The way I do it is I go, imagine this, picture this. And then I go into a series of what-if questions. What if you could get really good at honing your offer, making it, packaging it, and presenting it in such a way that would compel people to just want to do business with you versus the competition? And what if you could go out and package yourself in such a way that uniquely position you as the only expert in your niche, as the go-to expert, the go-to authority, with ultimate super credibility, right, and super authority? What if you could do that? Would that be something that'd be exciting? Well, I'm using that strategy, right? That's step number 2. Step number 3 is address the skepticism that people have about whatever it is that you might be offering. Now, a couple common ones that people have regularly are, I've tried something like this before and it didn't work, right? Or you don't know my industry. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that, and then I go into that industry and catapult the results, right? There's certain operating systems that just work. Your universe, like when I throw a ball up in the air, what's going to happen? It's going to come down. It's the law of what? Law of gravity. And there's laws of success and laws of business and laws of failure too. And most importantly, many people have followed rituals and habits of laws of failure, which is why we struggle. Me too. I've been there. Again, I'm not here calling the kettle black because I've dealt with my own mistakes and my own failures. But the fact is if you can address these skepticisms up front, what do you think it will do? If you are one of the only people in the world to talk about their skepticism, hesitation up front, what do you think that does? It opens what? Trust, doesn't it? It opens your credibility. It makes you more believable. Why? Because you're probably the one person in their entire industry who's actually willing to put the cards out on the table and be real with them. And people today more than ever want to work with people who are real. Number 4, what is the discovery? Right? What is the discovery? And so now this gets into your strategy that uniquely positions, and usually you can follow that up with like your 3-step approach, your 5-step approach. I would encourage you to do something between a 3 and a 7-step approach of packaging your process, whatever, Matt's case. I have a 5-step, process to give you a return on, a video ROI. Or you come up with a name of whatever that process is and then walk people through what that is. In Genius Network, we have the 5-step return on genius process, right? Because inside of you have genius, don't you? We want to help you get that genius out. And through our 5-step process, we help do just that. We do it this way and we walk through it. It just makes sense. So you come up and package your version, then make your offer. Right? What is your offer? Get very clear on what your offer is when you're making it to people. And you want to start by writing it down, work backwards, think through what is that offer. And I encourage you, go much higher to begin with, and then you can work people into some type of a trial. Make it easy for them to say yes. And then your call to action, you've got to tell them what to do. A call to action, right? Be clear on telling people what to do. For example, if you want to go deeper with some of the principles here, you want to grow your business faster, easier, in what we call an elf way versus a halfway. The 6 key components we talk about in business, the 6 key areas: mental, physical, social, spiritual, emotional, and financial, personally. You can go much deeper with our resource package. So I'm going to do a call to action right now for you to take advantage. This package is valued at a couple $100. It's yours free when you pick up the phone right now, right? And you'll get our 2 best-selling books, Walking with the Wise and A Champion in the Making, Walking with it, A Champion in the Making, Awaken the Champion Within Your Life, Business, and Relationships. You'll get our audio program to help you be better at business, more productive, better at recruiting and hiring, better at leadership, right? All these things we're talking about. You'll get access to a couple video segments. This entire package is yours when you pick up the phone right now and call 602-246-3389. That's 602-246-3389. Or you can go to growthtofreedom.com/mastery. That's growthtofreedom.com/mastery, right? And imagine what would happen by putting some of these tools in place. Imagine if you got just 10% better at hiring and recruiting better people. What if you got 10% better at selling, persuading, influencing? What if you got 10% better at being able to package your offer, right? What if you got 10% better at the mental side of the game? What if you got 10% better as a leader? Now, if you factor all those 10% over the course of a month, over the course of a quarter, over the course of 6 months and a year, where would you be in a year from today if you put these tools in place? Well, here's the reality. If you do nothing, you'll get exactly that. Is that what you want? Nothing? Well, if you want more than that, you want to see exponential growth, exponential breakthroughs, well, now is your time. You can get this resource package, growthtofreedom.com/mastery, or pick up the phone, 602-246-3389. And that's our wrap for today's show. Wow, time flies when we're having fun, doesn't it? Take action with what we've shared with you. Work on packaging and positioning. Come back to growthtofreedom.com/55 to get all the details. Thanks for making us part of your day. Make it a great week. Seize the day. We'll see you next time on growthtofreedom.com.
Thanks for listening to this episode of growthtofreedom.com. Are you struggling to get a steady flow of new clients every day? Or maybe hit a plateau or hit a wall in growing your business? Well, let's help you solve this problem today. Let's review your business and have a conversation. You can do that for free today at breakthroughstrategycall.com. That's breakthroughstrategycall.com. In addition, if you're looking for a simple way to implement some of what we've been talking about in today's episode, then I want to encourage you to get our free small business toolkit. You can get that at activate.breakthrough3x.com. That's activate.breakthrough3x.com. If you'd like access to the special resources and all the show notes for this special episode, make sure to visit growthtofreedom.com.